Hey, welcome. If you're new to the channel, I am Tony, and this is Tony's Tractor Adventure, but today we're going to be working on the mini excavator. All right, this is the MechMaxx Mec10, and I have about 15 hours on this unit. I'm going to do some upgrades and do some repairs. We'll show you the first thing we're going to do to repair. Being very transparent, if you look right here, this thumb bent. And I did a video on repairing it, and at the time that I made this piece of metal to go in here and weld it on, I said I don't think my welder is going to get hot enough. Well, it didn't. So what I've done to fix that is I went ahead and got me a Best Arc. This is a 220 welder. I think it's 145 amps. But because it's 220, you're really going to get that true amperage. And the last one I had was a 110, and I was only working off of a 20 amp circuit. So now I'm going to have enough heat to actually get this done. Now, over the past few months we've had this, I've actually used it pretty hard. I mean, these 15 hours are like real use hours. They're not just playing around. So another upgrade we're going to do, if you'll look right here at the drain plug on the engine, it does pretty good about draining out, especially if you have the unit tilted down just a little bit. It'll drain out this hole right here. However, we're going to go ahead and upgrade to this kit. And it's going to have a hose on it like a lawnmower, and then we can just lay this hose up in here, and then when we need to change the oil, we'll just snake it out the bottom of that hole, and it'll be very, very easy to change the oil. So this unit is top shelf in the fact that it has an oil cooler and a fan that pulls the air out through this oil cooler. However, having said that, this seat gets very, very hot, and I feel like if we had a positive airflow inside the unit, it would be better. So what I ended up doing is getting one more cooling fan. This is you only have about 10 amps to work with. So this is about a 2.5 amp little small fan. And it just so happens that we have this access panel right here. So what I'm going to do is cut a hole out in this access panel, mount that fan on the inside, and I got some expanded metal. We're going to make a little screen, tack weld all that onto this, and mount this screw, and then wire. We bought the plugs for this. We're going to go ahead and build a wiring harness that hooks directly to the other fan, so when you turn the ignition on, it'll charge this fan. And what it's going to do is pull fresh air around your legs, which will be nice, and blow cold air into the engine compartment up under this seat. So it's going to keep that heat moving out. All right, and the last thing we're going to do today is we've got a bunch of posts to bury in the ground here very soon. So we're going to mount this auger. It's been in the box ever since we got the unit, which has only been a couple months, but still, we're getting ready to hook this up, and hopefully all the parts are there. Or while we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and pull everything out of the way because I want to do a good inspection. Like I said, it's 15 hours. You want to make sure that all the bolts to everything in the underside that are tight, that for the turntable, all that stuff needs to be tight. So this mini excavator has the ability to rotate on the turntable, and it also can articulate the boom at the front. And the only time that you can grease this one cylinder, which does not move very much, is right now when you take that cover off. That grease fitting's right there. Now here is the actual turntable hydraulic motor. Again, what we're looking for is to see if it's loose in any way. These mount bolts at the bottom, make sure they're tight. And then this is where all of your flow goes through. I can't remember what that's called right there, but it's the valve. It's not a valve at all. It's just a flow through, and it allows it to pivot. So this is a very important thing. You don't want this to ever come loose. You want to check it, make sure that it's tight. All the mounts of that is tight as well. I don't have any indications that anything is loose. Also, right over here, you'll see the fill port for the hydraulic tank. And this unit has the hydraulic filter inside the tank. So if some units you have an external filter. This one has an internal filter. All right, one other thing that I did is I had to cut the canopy height down. so that I could get it into my garage. My garage door is just under 7 foot tall, and this is considerably over 7 foot tall. So what I ended up doing is cutting down this bar right here and lowering the whole thing down. Now there's a mounting thing here that's on the other piece that I cut off. I'll have to decide if I want to make this removable. At this point it's so low I don't think I'll ever need to remove it again. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and tack weld this around, or not tack weld it, but actually weld this around on both sides. And then if I need to take the canopy off, it'll just be the main bolts right here, which are just 4 bolts, so that's not that big a deal. But basically, I'm looking at doing something like this. And it's really important. First off, I thought just about cutting a piece of expanded metal and then mounting this to the expanded metal. It'd be really easy to do that, but I'm afraid I would have air flowing like this around it. So I think it's best if I go ahead and cut an exact hole. That way I know that I'm actually pressurizing the engine compartment and the hot air is just not circulating around. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So I picked up this Lotus plasma cutter, I guess maybe 5 years ago. I have a Best Arc 145, and I will be welding on some expanded metal that's about 1/16 of an inch. Can you tell me the settings for that? It's a MIG 145. We'll be using flux core 0.035.
For welding 16th inch expanded metal with a Best Arc 145 using 0.035 flux core wire, start with a voltage around 17 to 19 volts and a wire feed speed of about 180 to 250 inches per minute. Adjust slightly for a steady sizzling arc sound and test on scrap to avoid burn through.
So we're set on, when we pull the trigger it comes on, we let go of the trigger it goes off, that's 2T. And we're set on 0.035 wire, set on MIG and gasless. All right, I'm gonna let that cool off and then I will paint it and then get it back to you. All right, come up with these black Allen head bolts. I think they're gonna look better. They're black and yeah. And they're longer, so I need it to be a little bit longer. All right, we'll tighten these up. That's what it's gonna look like. I think it looks pretty professional. Unless you just get right down there and look at it, you're not gonna see it. So I think that looks pretty good. It's got these Allen head bolts and the hole's pretty tight. Unless you just really get down there and look at it, you're not going to notice that part. I guess I could probably clean that up or something, but I think it's fine. And because it's not just a big open hole there, the fan is going to be forced to pull air into that cavity, pressurizing the interior, blowing that hot air out. So it's not going to move a lot of air, but a little air will absolutely do. I think it looks good. Looks professional, like I said. Unless you just get down there and look right on it, you're not going to know. I'm going to take you in the belly of the mini excavator, and you'll see this wire right here. That goes to this fan, and this is what I'm going to splice into. I did the calculations. I think we're going to be perfectly okay. I think the system's going to charge enough to run the 2 fans. Not really comfortable that it's going to run the 2 fans and the light, but I don't use light anyway. I'm not working at night. All right, I got me some of this coated wire, and it's just got a plastic coating over it. It's going to add some protection. All right, now I got the fan hooked up to the same battery, or it's to the same circuit as the main fan. And I've got plenty of power, so I'm not worried about blowing a fuse or anything. Now when I turn this key, this fan should just come on. And I got the polarities right, it's blowing in. So I think we're ready. You see that? This is going to add a considerable amount of cooling to this, not only to the engine and to the seat underside, but it's going to provide a stream of cool air for the hydraulic cooler to pull through and pull out. It should, I would guesstimate this is going to drop the engine compartment temperature probably 10, maybe 20 degrees. The engine compartment gets hot. I mean, this right here, the actual metal gets hot to the touch. Not so much that it will burn you, but to the point that it's uncomfortable. I've got one zip tie right here I brought with me. And I'm going to bunch this right here with this other zip tie. And that'll keep it up and out of the way. There's not anything to get into in here anyway. I'm going to start this up and look at the voltmeter. So this thing has been running about 13.8 to right at 14 volts for charging. And that's at about a 3/4 throttle. So this is really going to tell the story if I truly have 10 amps of power. According to everything I read, that Honda engine that I have should have 10 amps. So let's go ahead and see what happens. 13.8, 13.9, 13.8. I've had the ignition on a lot today. That's perfectly acceptable. All right, we'll let this smoke get out of here, and then I'll come back. That looks really good. I forgot to mention this anywhere else in the video, but later on I used this mini excavator, and it was absolutely amazing how much air that little fan was moving, and I could feel it around my legs. They were cooler. All right, now we got the fan in. Let's move on to our next project, and that is this diverter valve. So you see right here, this is the way the diverter valve comes set up. It has a little cap on it, and when you want to divert fluid from this valve, you rotate this, and then you can divert the fluid this way. Right now it's set up from the factory. This comes in from the foot pedal on one side, comes down and goes to the thumb, and then on the other side it's the exact same thing. So what we want to do, from the factory, if you get the auger, this cap unscrews, and you have this is a 14 millimeter, I can't remember the DIN, I think it's what it's called, 14 millimeter DIN with a 1.5 pitch thread, and you just screw this on. Well, I want a quick connect, so I ordered a set of quick connects, which I thought were going to be right, and this turns out to be a 16 millimeter DIN, and lo and behold, this valve did not come from China, I don't think. I think it comes from Korea, which uses, this is a 3H by 19, and BSP, or this case it'd be a BSSP. All right, and what that means is it's going to have a flat mating surface with an O-ring. and they measure their sizes by the interior. So if you look here, that's a 3/8 hole. It's not the thread. So it's weird. Anyway, went through a lot of struggles to figure this out. Well, looked for a bunch of adapters online, and I found one, but it was going to take like 2 weeks to get imported. So this is my solution. I got a hose. Actually, that's not terrible the way it is. That's really not terrible. That's actually pretty okay. I like how these hang down. Just kind of hanging out of the way. It's not really getting in the way of anything. Even I could zip tie these around if I'm not using them. But really, I mean, if they hit something, they're very flexible. All right, that's the end result. And we'll put the fitting on the other end of the hose for the auger. And we should be able to just quick connect these. It's going to be a lot better solution. Then when we want to use the auger, all we have to do is turn this knob on both sides on both different valves. All right, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail hooking the hose up. These are the adapters that come with it. The hose is hooked directly onto the auger itself. You want to grease this. Don't grease it to the point that this blows out the grease out the front. That's bad. But the auger is already pretty much all assembled. You will have to tighten these bolts up. I recommend using a chrome socket on your impact gun. That's absolutely do it. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the quick connects on, and these quick connects will go into the bottom. And what come with it is this is a 14 millimeter by 1.5 pitch, and I think it's a DIN, one of those. I can't remember it. All right, simple as this. I'm not going to show you locking everything down. It's just not necessary. Again, this is that O-ring type fitting, so don't crank down on this. Just put that adapter on. I can leave a link to these quick connects, but I'm telling you that I don't know that's going to be. If you have these, you're still going to have to go to your local hydraulic shop and have stuff made up. There's some adapters you can order online that are perfectly matched to these. So it's going to be a lot quicker. All right, let's put our first tack, and we'll put a heavy tack, and then see how this thing welds with flux core, 0.035, 145 amps, 21.2 volts, everything that it's got. Okay, I don't think our wire's feeding good. Let's pop the top, see what's going on here. Yeah, the wire was a little bit loose. right, that's the weld that I did. Obviously, I'm not a great welder, but I got some good penetration on that. That ain't coming loose. Probably with some more, some training, some more time, I could do some really good welding with this. It's definitely not the machine. So that actually worked out really good. This is the best arc, MIG 145. So you could do MIG welding. You can do gasless flux core welding. You can do TIG welding, and you can do stick welding. And the thing I really like about this is really friendly for amateurs like myself. You don't have to do anything other than set the voltage and the amps, and it takes care of the wire speed automatically. It's called Synergetics, I think that's what it's called, and that's where it takes care of it itself. But you can, like I said, it has you can buy the adapter if you want to do TIG with this. This has a duty rating of 60% on the MIG welder on the gasless. It never once gave me a heat error or anything. So I think you could really do so good with it. And the fact that it's this size, you latch this little thing up here. You go to the, if you get the handle, you can carry this places. You got a little generator in this. You got a whole welding setup right there, like legit welding setup. As I said earlier, we have a bunch of holes to dig for some posts we're going to put it in the ground. I want to test this out. This is an area that is really heavy in roots, and this thing went right through it. No issues at all. It was way stronger than the one we have for the front of the tractors. Probably because the tractors are, just don't have the flow rate this thing does. Here is where we're, the second hole that I dug, and I'm still obviously not good at it, but towards the end here, I got it figured out as far as keeping it straight up and down. I did learn some more just by watching this video with you, but I'm excited. This is such an accurate thing. It's way more accurate than a rear postal digger for a tractor. So this is going to wrap the video up. I'm going to wait on welding these. I may want to do something else. I think I may go ahead and weld the brackets here so I could still take this on and off. Let me look at this a couple more days, but I think that's going to do it. God bless. Have a great day.